Hello everyone, happy Pride Month. My name is Lauren Suckarie, Head of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here at Cast and Crew. And today, we're here to talk. Here at Cast and Crew, we put forth an amazing effort to not only make sure that we're creating a safe space for us all to be ourselves, but also to celebrate who we are and continue to learn more about each other. Today, I'm honored to sit here with our three amazing panelists as we have a conversation not only about why we celebrate Pride Month, but it's really all about them and their own journeys and how we can use their voices to help uplift and inspire others. So I'm so excited to jump into this conversation with you all. Let's get started. If you can just take a moment to, let me know what your relationship is to the LGBTQIA plus community and, why did you want to participate in this panel today? You can go first.
Hi, my name is Kaio. I work in the payroll department for Cast and Crew. And my relationship to the community is I am a cisgender guy who identifies as bisexual. And when you see an opportunity to make a difference and educate people about stuff, you take it and you do it.
I'll go ahead. So I'm Ashley Melman. I'm the SVP of FP&A here in finance. And I am a lesbian. So I've been married to my wife for over a decade now, and we have 3 boys. Work is a lot easier than raising 3 boys, let me tell you, but they're great. They're the loves of my life.
Well, I'm Dre Jefferson. I am transgender, female to male, and I'm also pansexual, so I like a little bit of everything. At first, I was skeptical. I was like, yo, I'm gonna be outed, everybody's gonna know, and I don't know if I'm ready for that.
There are times when my wife and I actually tell people we're sisters or cousins or friends, still to this day.
Oh, wow.
Because we just don't want to deal with,
Yeah.
like whatever might come out of that.
Yeah, and also I have a child, and I try to do things to show her the way. Like, don't be scared to be who you are, So this is me not being scared of who I am. So that's why I'm here, to just speak up for myself and share a portion, be vulnerable with you guys, because I think there's other people that need that as well.
Why do you all think it's important to highlight the advancements as well as the struggles that still exist for the LGBTQIA plus community?
I do think there's a lot of things that we still need to overcome, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And sometimes I forget about it because I live in the...
We live in a bubble.
We live in a
LA.
bubble of acceptance and love
Yeah.
from family and friends, and people don't know me, and this is my label, or I don't label myself. Like most of the times I go by bisexual to make it easier for people to understand, but I really don't care about labels.
Me too. Same.
Like whoever.
It's whatever I'm into at that.
Exactly.
It might be, today I might like rice, tomorrow I like spinach. I don't know.
Exactly.
So it's just, it really depends.
So, and it feels good to finally be able to not have to justify like, oh, I am like this because of this. Like, no.
Right. It's not because of anything.
It's not because of anything. It's just who I am.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I feel like we didn't have 10 years ago.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't grow up.
To piggyback off of that, one thing about I was lesbian before. I was considered lesbian. I still was doing my own thing, but more like the butch stud type of the lesbians. And it was always the question of, well, did something happen to you? Did somebody do something? No, nobody did nothing. Me and my dad are cool. What? No.
Yeah.
It was always that question. I just like what I like. This is just who I am. So just to say that, like, I've experienced that to where, like, I felt like I had to sometimes come up with a reason for being gay or being trans.
Or a reason to why you use the label that you use. Because
Exactly.
I feel like a lot of people are focused in labels as well. What matters is, like, if we're just being ourselves, that should be enough.
My child, like my daughter, still currently in private, calls me mom. We just recently I swear I just started growing facial hair. Like, this was not here. So it was like, I was out and it was like, I was passing really good. And she's like, mom. I'm like, oh shit. Let's try something else. So, my daughter, she made me this bracelet and everything. Like, it's the trans colors and everything.
That is so cute.
Like, so she's definitely supportive. So she's like, well, seahorses, the dad gives birth, so maybe I could just call you like a seahorse or something. So I'm Billy the seahorse to my kid in public.
I will cry.
She's like, Billy. So in public, my daughter.
Yeah, don't make my eyeliner.
She's like, Billy. I'm like, I forget that I'm Billy the seahorse sometimes. But that's our thing. So it's like, I think just setting the tone for yourself, and people are like, oh, you're gonna confuse her. No, I'm not.
My relationship with my mother haven't always been the best, even way before I came out. But right now we're good. We're good. We talk to each other every day. We call each other every day. We are chill. But before, she was always very overprotective and always afraid that the outside was going to influence me. So, I don't want you playing with the kids on the street because they sell drugs. That's a choice, if you're gonna accept something from somebody or not. Your sexuality, your gender, your identity, that's not a choice.
No, it's not.
It's in your code, it's in your core, you were born with it, and there's nothing you can do to change it. And I'll tell you this, trying to live your life by what other people expect you to, it will only hurt you.
So bad.
I mean, it goes back to that whole, like, what are people thinking of me thing, right? But like, Lauren, you asked that question, why is it important to tell stories, right? I mean, if people haven't heard our stories, the good and the bad, how are they gonna know what we're going through? How are they gonna know how to help us, right? I think it's like with anything in history. We're never gonna learn from our mistakes if we don't talk about it. For me in particular, it was my last day at a previous employer. And the head of my department's executive assistant came up to my desk to say goodbye to me. But she said, Ashley, I want you to know something. She said, you're the first gay person I've ever known. She said, notice she didn't say, I've never heard of a gay person, right? She didn't say like, I've never met one. She said, you're the first one I've known. She goes, and you've changed me. Which, don't.
I know, I started getting chills. I'm like, it's getting emotional. Somebody get the tissues, please.
She said, you've changed how I think about your community. Mm-hmm. And I that's why it's so important for us to tell our stories, because people aren't gonna know how to help us or stand with us if they don't know about us, Don't all. I'm like, cut.
That's such a good point, though, because there's still so much work that needs to be done. Like you said, it took her to say, oh, you're the first gay person I knew.
Right.
There's so many people that don't even want to get to know us or know what we're about, so they stay kind of behind and ignorant by choice. Growing up Black, we didn't ask questions. We didn't challenge things. Our mom say this to our mom, say this to my grandma. No, we did as we were told. Mm-hmm. That was it. We did as we were told.
When it comes to fairness and equality, what do you all see as the biggest obstacle standing in the way of that for the LGBTQIA+ community, and what can we do to make that better?
I think one of the biggest challenges right now, like Dre mentioned previously, is the trans community. Like, what's gonna happen if you go, if you go to school? What's gonna happen if you go to work and in the middle of the way if somebody looks at you differently?
When somebody finds out that you're weren't born as what you say you were. That's the scariest thing for me.
Oh yeah.
That's why it was like part of not wanting to do it was like, dang, everybody at Cast and Crew's gonna know that I was born a woman, and there's gonna be questions and confusion. I don't want that. I don't want to bring that to the workplace. A lot of people don't know trans people. A lot of people stay away from them. Oh, you freaks. It's always something crazy, like, oh, you're confused.
They just live with their prejudice or their stereotype.
Yeah, and they're fine with that. And they don't
new.
want to learn anything until their grandchild comes out
right.
gay. Now I have to learn how to accept this. Now I have to learn how to put this together, because I don't want my child to take
that pain. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Like, I can only speak for myself again, but I've experienced homophobia even before I even realized who I was.
This is important to talk about. These conversations are so important, especially in settings like this, because we kind of overlook it. We kind of don't say much about it. Everybody knows, but nobody really says anything.
Yeah. No, I've never experienced this in any other job.
Me neither.
Of having a place to speak up about it.
Yeah. I feel like if people just listen, right? We live in a pretty polarized society, and I think sometimes people just have their blinders on and they don't want to listen to anything new. But if we
Yeah.
did that, I mean, we got to know each other, I think we could change so much. I hope people listen to this, even if they might have not wanted to. This is a mandated panel, right, Lauren?
What advice would you all give to someone that is coming out, and then also to those that they're coming out to?
So coming out is not easy, and it's a very personal choice. For me, you know, I came out when I was younger in college, and my parents were not accepting of me at all. So I had a very strained relationship with them for years. But luckily, I had a group of friends that was like awesome. They were my family. So I feel really lucky to have had that. So I would say to anybody coming out that there's going to be, if there are people, hopefully maybe there's not, which would be awesome, that, you know, have a negative reaction, that there's hundreds, thousands more that'll love you. And if someone comes out to you, you know, just support them and ask them how they want to be supported. They may come out and not want you to tell anybody else, but they've shared that with you. Yeah. So I think it's important to ask them, you know, how they want you to be there for them.
Absolutely. I would definitely tell them to have patience with your loved ones. Your loved ones may not understand, but just have patience with them. They will come around. My grandmother was born in 1944, okay? She's old school. I'm blessed to have her, you know? She's alive and kicking. Then we didn't talk about this type of stuff. I had to be patient, so patient with her. Okay, Grandma, I don't want to be called Andrea. I want to be called Dre. Okay, it took maybe 2 years, but she calls me Dre now, at least, you know, and it's so beautiful. Because there's a lot of people that would say, oh, you're not calling me what I want you to call me. You're not giving the pronouns that I want you to give. I'm out. You obviously don't love me. You don't respect me. And it's not that. It's just they're programmed. There's so many people who are programmed, and to rewire somebody's mind is difficult. It takes time. So somebody coming out to me as trans, gay, whatever, I would tell them, look, this road may be hard. It may not be. But whoever you tell, just have patience. Eventually, they will come around.
Yeah, I should mention I have a great relationship with my parents now, but it was tough for a long time. They didn't come to our wedding even. So
you guys should do it.
But now it's very different.
See what happens. Yeah, like I plan on proposing to my girlfriend. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm like, what's she gonna say? No.
Not that.
I'm proposing in May, so by the time this comes on YouTube,
it'll be out.
Yeah, so it'll be out.
That's perfect.
You know, I'm proposing to my girlfriend. We've been together.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We've been together 7 years, and
oh my God,
my grandma being in that wedding is so important. Like, not even just sitting there. I want like my grandma to like walk me with me down, because that's who raised me. That's who I've gone through everything with. Surgeries, everything. And like, even this morning, as I'm getting dressed, I'm like, Grandma, does my chest look flat? Am I passing? Like, she's like, you look great.
Oh,
you look great.
I want to meet your grandma.
You would love her.
Honestly, grandparents are like, I also was raised like partly by my parents, partly by my grandparents, and like my grandparents are the foundation of everything that I am. And I thought my parents would be more lenient than my grandparents, but it was more
opposite.
difficult with my parents, and I told my grandma, and my grandma was like, oh, okay. And then I didn't have the courage to tell my grandpa, so she told him. And they've been through some stuff. My grandpa was just like the most loving person I've ever met. I lost him last year for COVID. And so he's my nightingale. He's always with me.
That's cool.
So, his reaction was like life-changing. So the minute he was like, I accept you, nothing mattered anymore.
Right. Once you get that, like, it's like the big boss, beating the big boss.
Yeah.
In like a video game.
Yeah. So like my biggest advice, like, my experience was just like, wait until you're 100% ready, because it's for you, and you have to deal with the consequences, because we live in society and we have to deal with other people. In my case, like, I waited until I was on the other side of the world to tell them. So I didn't. So like, I managed to do that. But like, if I was gonna tell them and I was still living at home, I would wait until like I had some sort of security of job, security of like a place to live, because literally, anything can happen. And an advice for the people who have somebody in their family or a friend is just that person, it's still the same person.
The hardest person for me to tell that I was transitioning was my kid. At the time, she's 11 now, going on 12. At the time that I decided, I'm gonna be who I want to be.
Yeah.
I was 30. I'm 34 now, so I'm a single parent. So I didn't want her to feel like I was taking her mom from her. I didn't want her to feel like, oh, you don't have a mom anymore. Call me dad now. It's a new sheriff in town. I didn't want to do that to her. That was the hardest part, because we had been through so much. Her little short life, we had been through so much just with moving and people, and the person that I thought I was gonna be with ended up going across the street and being with the neighbor. So we had to, me and my daughter had to watch this family blossom, and there were kids involved,
geez.
and this is who she knew. It would be like as if your wife just left and your kids had to watch her take care of another family. That was hard for my kid. So that was the hardest person to come out to as far as transgender. She was born into me being gay and not dealing with men and stuff like that, but just coming out, I was just like, dang, because we're like this. I can show you pictures. That's my best friend. My 11-year-old daughter is the most understanding, like you said, resilient.
Kids are amazing.
Even this morning, I was not really feeling it. I was just like, She was like, don't even think about it. You're gonna do great. You look good. And it just made me feel good. Just so the relationship that we have now is beautiful.
There's not a book that tells you this is how you should do it, And that's why I'm so glad that nowadays we have, I'm probably going to another topic, but we have media that shows this is okay.
Right, I love that.
God, that is
representation
so
makes me
important.
so happy.
That is so important.
It makes me so happy.
Yeah.
But it
getting to
pisses
know you
everybody
thing.
off. It
Yeah.
pisses people off. I'm boycotting this. I'm like, why? You see people, there's gay people in the world. Why can't they be on a show?
What stories are not being told that you feel must be told? What do you want to see represented in the media?
I'm gonna sound cheesy, but where are all my gay rom-coms?
Oh my God, yes. You're in for a treat.
They're working on it, but so many of them are bad.
But yeah, no, I agree with you. Well, there's a new show on Netflix called Heartstopper, and it's the most cute, innocent story about these two high school boys who fall in love with each other. That I like watching heavier stories with a more emotional, deep story, and watching that was just so relieving that we actually have a light show about celebrating queer people, and it's just making it look
natural.
Natural. And I've watched it 2 times already. It's been 2 days and I've watched the show 2 times because it really brought hope into my heart that we're walking, we're building a world where kids will see that and they're not gonna feel guilty for feeling the way they feel. Yep. So and that's because it's a teenage show, but there are so many more new shows and movies that are but I do agree with you. I do need a new
I used to sneak watching the L Word, when I was in college. I didn't want my sorority sisters to see, I was like, oh crap, what's going on with me?
Yeah, no.
I would actually take the opposite direction. I want to see the hard stuff. I want to see, I want that to be painted. I want real life situations of how people treat the community. I want to see something where it paints the struggles more so of not just the trans community, the gay community, the lesbian community, everything. People that are going through real things, but the struggles behind that, because I think that will open up doors for people to be like, oh damn, did I do that? Have I been doing that? Kind of
an eye-opening.
point a finger yo, this is what's going on. Kind of like, I don't know, Roots or something. Like if you think of Roots or something like that, it kind of paints this picture and it leaves a sense of, oh man, let me check myself and make sure that I'm not being that person. Just showing like, this is how we're being treated. This is who is treating us this way. Don't be a part of the problem. And I think that would actually help.
So for the most part, people have good intentions and they don't mean to offend anyone, but what advice would you give for someone, who wants to know how to appropriately discuss gender or identity, and what advice would you give to them?
That's actually a great question because a lot of people don't want to offend people, so they kind of want to know, but I always say choose neutral. Go as neutral as possible. If you're unsure, like, when you were a kid and you were doing like the Stanford 9, they said, when in doubt, the answer is C. When in doubt, go as neutral as possible. Like if I'm unsure, because there's times where I'm unsure. Okay, are they? I don't know. So I'll go with they or them. Please let them know, or they're over there, and then you could politely ask, hey, what are your pronouns? We actually love that. I love when people are like, well, so what's your pronouns? Because I was getting asked that before, I started passing. People are assuming now, like, which it feels really cool because it's like, oh, snap. So I get like the thank you, sir. Thank you, bro. All right, yeah, good looking out, bro. I'm like, did you hear him? He said, bro. So I would always say, just ask. What are your pronouns? How do you want me to address you? And that means so much to us because it's like you took the time to ask instead of just assumed. When I got hired here, I just asked, because all my paperwork said one thing, and I was like, can I just be Dre? And do you know how good it feels to sign into something and see Dre, and not, because I've worked at other places and they're like, nope, Andrea, here's your badge. I'm like, I don't want this stupid badge. I don't even want to work here because you guys don't respect me. You guys, damn, threw the mic off, hold on. No, I didn't, okay. Testing, okay. No, it's offensive when you just kind of assume sometimes certain, because you might see somebody that's non-binary, but assume that they are him, his, but they might want to be them.
And it's the most respectful way to ask somebody how to address them. I think my greatest advice is, don't ask about people's genitals. That's their own personal thing. Don't go there. Don't ask about their history. Don't ask what their name was before transitioning. Right. Don't ask what you want to know. What's your name? How should I refer to you? Yeah.
I like your point, Dre, about being neutral and just don't make assumptions. A lot of times I'll meet somebody, oh, what does your husband do? And I'm always like, my wife, and then they're like, oh, my bad, right? If we can all just learn to approach things from a more neutral point of view, and that just doesn't go for our community. I think it goes for
anybody,
anywhere, right? So I really like that. Totally agree.
Yeah, because that's what people, especially like, when you see feminine lesbians, you don't think that they're lesbians. I don't know what that's all about.
I get that all the time. Oh, you're not really gay, right?
Yeah, like what do you mean? Like, no, I'm married.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if they see like a girl who's like bald, they're like and she's a little masculine, they're gonna assume that she is a lesbian.
And she might not even be a lesbian.
And she might be straight, or like, exactly. So it's like, we need to focus more on what it's in here rather than it's on the outside.
Yeah, and just treat people with respect. It's not hard to respect people. I don't know why people get so stuck in their own feelings, like, oh, that makes me uncomfortable. It's not about you, it's my life. Like, after we leave this building, we're never gonna see each other again, possibly. So I try to address everyone. How do you want me to address you? How would you like me to call you? What's your name? What do you want me to call you? I hate because I used to say, well, my birth name is Andrea, but I prefer Dre.
You don't have to explain yourself.
Yeah, that's what I used to say. I used to say, well, my birth name is Andrea, but I prefer Dre. Oh, well, Andrea's so pretty. I'm gonna call you Andrea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like, I've gotten that 100 times. What do you mean you're gonna call me Andrea? No. I just said my preferred name is Dre. So
being kind rather than right is definitely a good way to start. So.
In closing, I actually would love to ask you all, is there an organization, a cause, or anything that you personally would like to call attention to, whether it's to say, hey, I would love for you all to support this organization or this cause, let us know.
I can go. If you want to think about it for a little bit.
I brainstormed so much right now.
Well, there's so many good organizations,
I know, yeah.
but in keeping with our entertainment thing, I think GLAAD, GLAAD, is a great organization, and they're actually all about getting representation on TV film, right? Because if we see ourselves or other people see people like us on a show or on stage or wherever it may be, they're going to start to know us, right? And then they're going to start to change the way they think about us. So I think that's one in particular, for sure.
Definitely. One of my favorites is the Trevor Project. They do a great job with trans youth and LGBT youth. And I also love NUMMI. They have lots of walks for mental health, and they're a big advocate for mental health. And I think that's important if you're part of the LGBT community to keep your mental health in check.
I don't really know, I'm not familiar with a lot of organizations, so this is actually teaching me something, but I can agree with the mental health thing. I think that with transitioning, even though I waited a little bit later in my life to transition, it still gets really difficult. And sometimes it feels like I can't talk to anybody that's going to understand what I'm feeling. So if there was some type of organization where I can just call and say, hey, I'm trans, this is happening right now. Help me, why do I feel this way? Because when you first start taking testosterone and the estrogen starts kind of leaving your body, you are a maniac. I don't know if you've ever talked to somebody that was going from female to male, but it's crazy, and then stuff starts making sense. I was like, dang, that's why all the boys in middle school was fighting. This is what was wrong with them. You get mad. Sometimes it's so angry. I'm like, who is this beast inside of me? I'm with my brothers. The other day, I think he was I don't think he was purposely trying me, but in my head, I'm like, you're not gonna talk to me like that. And he's like, what's wrong with you?
You bring the Incredible Hulk from inside.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, I don't know, because I'm usually such a soft-spoken person.
Thank you so much to our wonderful panelists, and we thank you so much for watching. This is who we are 365 days of the year. And with that said, we look forward to sharing more amazing content with you all. I will leave you with one quote. With open minds and open hearts, there's nothing that we can't do. Because together we are one cast, one crew.